Let's go, 2 by 2.
Yo, Marcus,
Yeah?
if something happens to me, promise me you'll look for Maria.
You got it, Dom. No problem.
Get your asses down there! Marcus, should we try to...
Damn it! Won't bud! Ah, fuck!
Yo, what's going on guys, it's Abs here and welcome back to another Gears of War 10 facts video. So in this video I'm going to be giving you 10 facts about Scourge, who was voted by yourselves to be in this episode, and this is episode 8 in the series. So if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another 10 facts episode or any Gears of War content on the channel. And after this video, be sure to head on over to the community tab of my channel to vote for the next COG character there, and that will be for episode 9. Now then, in this episode of course we're going to be talking about Scourge, who is one of the most badass bosses in the Gears of War franchise. Not as badass as General RAAM, but a beast in his own right, very ruthless and tactical, and there's a lot of cool things that I want to share about him that you may not know already. And if you learn something new in this video or whether it refreshes your memory, be sure to let me know in the comments below. But yeah, let's dive straight in. So fact number 1, I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of Scourge. So KETOR Skorge was the High Priest of the Trinity of Worms and later High General of the Locust Army. Scourge led the bloodied vanguard with RAAM during the Lambent War and assisted RAAM leading the Locust Horde to the surface of Sierra to start Emergent State. He was also a member of the Locust Council during the Lambent War, and after the death of RAAM during the Lightmass Offensive, Scourge became the High General of the Locust Army, leading them personally at Landown during Operation Hollow Storm, and he nearly destroyed Jacinto City with his strategy of sinking cities around Jacinto, but he met his demise outside Jacinto's gates at the hands of Delta Squad. And a bit about his appearance. So being the leader of the Cantus, Scourge wore a different helmet and armour than his subordinates. His helmet was more of a headdress with reddish brown leather straps, giving him the appearance of dreadlocks rather than the crown-like helmets that the Cantus wear usually. And his armour did not entail the twin bands of cloth of the regular Cantus, but instead Scourge's consisted of spiked armour plates on his forearms and thighs, giving him a more menacing and monstrous look, and he also wore armour on his chest as well, leaving most of his torso bare. And Scourge also owned a dual chainsaw staff as well, which you saw in the Gears of War 2 campaign. So fact number 2, I'm going to be talking about Scourge during the Lambent War. And when I talk about the Lambent War, I'm not going to go fully into detail like I did in the 10 facts about RAAM, because the Rise of RAAM comics are mainly about RAAM, and obviously Scourge is his brother in arms. So we're going to be talking about Scourge as well, but not fully in detail like we did with RAAM, if that makes sense. Now then, by 7 BE, so 7 years before Emergence Day, members of the Locust Horde and various creatures became infected with lambency due to exposure to emotion. The Lambent became aggressive and would infect or kill all uninfected life, and therefore the epidemic in the Hollow soon became a conflict known as the Lambent War. So during the war, apostate Scourge spent his early years studying and professing the trinity of worms, a polytheistic religion that worshipped 3 rift worms responsible for carving out the hollow and creating life in the hollow itself. And of course, through the rift worms, they led to the creation of the sires, which then birthed the actual locust horde. So Apostate Skorge also spent his years leading locust hunting parties to lure rockworms out with his chance, allowing the locust to kill the rockworms for food. So under the apprenticeship of KETOR, who was the high priest at the time during the Lambent War, and he was a member of the Locust Council as well, so Apostate Skorge pushed the limits of what he could achieve within the church. By inhaling emulsion fumes, Apostate Skorge was given prophetic visions that the Locust Horde would fall if they continued to fight the Lambent and remain in the hollow. So basically, because he did inhale those emulsion fumes, it allowed him to kind of have these visions of the future. And so because of this blasphemous vision, believing the riftworms would never abandon the horde and the hollow was their holy right, Apostate Skorge was excommunicated from the church and forced to join the Locust army. So whilst Skorge was continuing to act as an apostate and prophet within the army, he also became a soldier to fight the Lambent army. So during the Lambent War, he joined the Bloodied Vanguard, where he met Vold RAAM, the leader of the Bloodied Vanguard. And because they were quite similar in strength and ruthlessness, therefore Skorge and Vold RAAM became friends and comrades in war. Fact number 3, in 0 AE, the Lambent army attacked the Gorgon front, which was basically a major fortress that defended Nexus, while Vold RAAM and the Bloodied Vanguard fought off the millions of Lambent wretches and Lambent drudges. Skorge inhaled emulsion to reach the rift in order to receive prophetic visions of the battle. Skorge then determined that the Gorgon front would fall regardless of victory or loss. So therefore, after the battle which the Locust had won, Skorge rallied the troops with the prophetic vision that the war will be won in victorious glory. However, Vold RAAM confided in Skorge about his plan to save the Locust Horde, and then RAAM took Skorge outside of the hollow to the surface, where Vold RAAM showed Skorge a human city during a battle in the Pendulum Wars, and believed that humanity was in a weakened state just like the Locust because they were fighting against each other. So then Skorge was then enlisted in Vold RAAM's plan to give the Lambent a crushing victory in order to convince Queen Myrrah to evacuate to the surface. By doing so, Vold RAAM went to convince and recruit Vold Khan to abandon his post in the expansion hollow to allow the Lambent to attack the Temple of the Trinity. Meanwhile, Skorge was directed by RAAM to return to the temple and profess his visions of the temple being assaulted to KETOR, but Skorge actually failed to convince the KETOR to aid them. But then a horde of Lambent proceeded to attack the temple, with a wounded Vold Khan and a few drones managing to escape. Vold RAAM and a squadron of boomers arrived and proceeded to bombard and destroy the Lambent. So as predicted, KETOR realised that Skorge was actually telling the truth and was convinced to allow Skorge, RAAM and Khan to attend to the Queen's Council, and at the council, KETOR spoke on behalf of the validity of Skorge's visions and the tactical approach of Vold RAAM, that the hollow will fall to the Lambent and the Locust must colonise the surface. And then Queen Myrrah then demoted Uzil Sraq to Vold and Vold RAAM to Uzil. Skorge and RAAM actually succeeded in their plan to convince Queen Myrrah, and then Skorge met with Uzil RAAM and they began preparations with Queen Myrrah to invade the surface. And Uzil RAAM's first strike would be the human city of Janamont, and RAAM actually wanted Skorge to join him in battle. So RAAM and Skorge, they were brothers in arms, they were there for each other, which is pretty cool to be honest. Fact number 4, Skorge then accompanied Uzil RAAM's army into the city of Janamont, where they managed to overrun and occupy an army base. And using the rift, Skorge delivered a grim prophecy to Uzil RAAM that RAAM would perish before the end of the war. and RAAM acknowledged this and wanted to just kill as many humans before his death, and RAAM appointed Skorge to his second in command and to become High General in the event of his death. So RAAM himself, he wanted Skorge to take over as a High General once RAAM had died, and obviously Skorge, he knew, because of his prophetic visions, he knew that RAAM wouldn't last the end of the Locust War. But then the newly demoted Vold Srak attacked RAAM out of vengeance, but was executed by RAAM with the help from 2 Theron guards with torque bows, killing Vold Srak, who were prepared following a vision by Skorge of Srak's treachery. So basically Skorge even knew that Srak would come back to attack them, so that's why Skorge and RAAM were ready for Srak's retaliation. So basically, if it weren't for Skorge, Srak probably would have killed RAAM, to be honest, because Srak, you know, he was a beast himself. He's about 12 feet tall, RAAM's about 10 feet tall, you know. So thanks to Skorge, they could plan in advance, and then Skorge and RAAM then continued to slaughter the humans of Janamon as they both led the Locust to war on the surface of Sera. Fact number 5, at some point during the Locust War, KETOR died, but we don't know how he actually died. Maybe that will be explained to us soon, maybe through some comics or maybe some DLC, I don't know. But anyway, Skorge became High Priest of the Locust Horde because obviously KETOR died, and as KETOR Skorge, Skorge led both the Locust Army and the religious body of the Locust Horde as well. However, in 14 AE, as Skorge prophesied, RAAM died by the hands of Marcus and Dom during the Lightmass offensive, in which the Cog was able to deliver a Lightmass bomb to the outer hollow and destroyed the Krill and many of the Locust Horde as well. So it was a tremendous loss for the Locust Army, but KETOR Skorge was then promoted to Uzil of the Locust Army, and RAAM's contingency plan was fulfilled. RAAM's desire for Skorge to become the High General after he died, that took place. So shortly after Skorge's promotion, the Lightmass bomb proved to be a miracle as it awoke a long dormant riftworm. It's basically dormant, meaning that the riftworm, you know, it was just basically like suspended from doing anything, basically asleep all that time. It's like when animals kind of hibernate, similar to that. So the Locust Army probably thought that the riftworms were dead or something happened to them, but obviously once the Lightmass bomb took place, it actually awoke one of the riftworms. So Skorge's faith was reaffirmed and he was able to direct the riftworm, and with this massive riftworm, Queen Myrrah began to deliver on the plans given to her by Professor Adam Phoenix to sink Jacinto City and flood the Hollow in order to destroy the Lambent. But of course they were unable to destroy Jacinto City due to the Jacinto Plateau, so what they did was they had the riftworm weaken the base by sinking surrounding cities on the plateau. So what Skorge did was he directed the riftworm to sink the cities of Tollen and Montevado. So while Skorge was preparing to sink the city of Ilima, Skorge began bombarding raids and sieges on Jacinto City in order to weaken their defences. But first, Skorge sent an army to cut off their food supply by attacking the North Gate Agricultural Depot. Later, by taking out the Tollen Dam, many of the cities on the plateau that supplied the coalition with transport and weapons for the war were without power. So Skorge, you know, he was tactical as well, he knew what he was doing, so he was pretty smart as well. And Skorge then led an attack on the birthing creche in Jalain to deny further reproduction of humans. And then finally what Skorge did was he led major attacks on Jacinto City to raid their weapons and medical supplies, weakening the humans with no food, medicine, power or weapons. So fact number 6, let's talk about Operation Hollow Storm, the Battle of Stromson Forest. So 6 months after the Lightmass bomb, the Cog was made aware of the Locust Horde's return and KETOR Skorge's tactical move to sink Jacinto City. Therefore, the coalition initiated Operation Hollow Storm by sending thousands of gears into the inner hollow and destroyed the Locust stronghold in the hopes of finally ending the Locust War. But in order to do so, the coalition prepared a massive convoy of assault derricks, King Ravens, armoured personnel carriers and centaurs to the nearby city of Landown, where the soil was soft enough to deliver the gears via grind lifts. So as the gears were travelling from Jacinto City to Landown through Stromson Forest, KETOR SKORGE sent a massive army to meet with the convoy. But with aerial attacks of Nemesis, mortars and reavers, King Ravens were destroyed and denied air support from many of the ground forces. And then corpses also opened massive emergence holes in the forest to cut the vehicles off, as well as deliver hundreds of locust troops and Brumarks as well. But while the Brumarks destroyed many of the cog vehicles, the locust troops hijacked the others. And then the corpses were then sent to try and destroy the derricks themselves by pulling them underground, and the locust army there actually managed to kill hundreds of gears, but the majority of the cog forces were able to reach Landown. Fact number 7, let's talk about the assault on Landown. So the cog was able to eradicate the city of Landown of stationed locust troops since the fall of Landown in 5 AE. The assault derricks then arrived to the Landown cemetery to prepare the launch of gears. However, Scourge ordered a massive assault on the gears by opening several emergence holes in the graveyard before they could deploy into the hollow. Many drones began to set the mortars up while more drones assaulted the derricks directly, assisted by dozens of boomers and air support from reavers as well. So basically pinning down many gears on their rigs. But the gears were manning the chain guns, so hundreds of locusts died within the few minutes of the fighting, and after a short but heavy battle the gears were able to enter their grind lifts and prepare for launch. But then it spiced up again as a second massive assault then occurred, with locust reinforcements led by KETOR SKORGE himself attempted to destroy the vehicles and prevent deployment. And then Scourge, he actually cut a centaur tank in half with just his dual chainsaw staff, which was crazy. And then he arrived on rig 314 to prevent Delta 1 from deploying, but Marcus and Dom were already in one grind lift, they were strapped in, and Ty and Benjamin Carmine were in one grind lift as well. So Dizzy, who was the driver of rig 314, defended Delta by fighting against KETOR SKORGE. But obviously Marcus and Dom couldn't leave their grind lifts to assist Dizzy, but Ty was able to leave his grind lift and assist. Then Ty came from behind and attempted to chainsaw Scourge, but was met with the dual chainsaw staff. So Scourge and Ty were basically battling it out back and forth, and then Ty ordered Dizzy to escape basically. So Ty, in other words, saved Dizzy's life, because if Ty didn't tell Dizzy to escape, then Scourge probably would have captured Dizzy as well and would have tortured and processed Dizzy as well. So then Marcus, Dom, Benjamin Carmine and Dizzy were then all deployed into the inner hollow, while KETOR SKORGE flipped Ty Caliso with his staff and captured Ty. The other locust troops then gathered the surviving gears they had captured as Scourge chained them all together and led them into the inner hollow, where they boarded a torture barge. Scourge then ordered all, including Ty, to be processed. So Scourge, he was absolutely crazy. So Ty was actually strung by the flesh of his back on metal hooks. Just imagine that, ouch. Man. And he was struck with barbed whips until his mind broke. Ty lost his sanity. He's lost his mind. And Ty, he was a strong man as well, and he was completely broken by Scourge. But Scourge was unable to prevent the majority of the gears from deploying in the inner hollow, but many were still killed and captured, and the coalition mistakenly deployed in Tunnel City and not Nexus. However, with the operation underway, KETOR SKORGE was compelled to continue his work in weakening the Jacinto Plateau. I just can't get over what happened to Ty, to be honest. Oh man, Ty. Such a sad death that was. So fact number 8, let's talk about the sinking of Ilima City. So with humans in the inner hollow, Scourge was hastened to continue in weakening the Jacinto Plateau. Boarding his Hydra, Scourge located and began to command the Riftworm to burrow underneath the city of Ilima. Seismic activity beneath the city prompted the coalition to evacuate Ilima in the event that it too would sink, and ordered nearby gears in the inner hollow to investigate the source. Numerous gears, including Marcus, Dom and Benjamin Carmine, witnessed a gargantuan creature tunneling in the walls of the inner hollow. Scourge then completed his work by commanding the Riftworm to burrow at his location. So as they sunk Ilima city, the Jacinto Plateau was finally weakened enough for the Riftworm to continue into Jacinto City and sink the Jacinto City itself. So Scourge was making good progress, to be honest. But before moving to Jacinto City, however, the Riftworm was commanded to devour the ruins of Ilima sinkhole as Gears began to infiltrate the area. Among those devoured were actually Delta Squad. And obviously, as Scourge was leading the Riftworm to Jacinto City, Delta Squad did amazing work, of course, and actually killed the Riftworm, and the Riftworm emerged to the surface and basically just fell to the ground. And obviously Delta Squad destroyed the 3 hearts, not 1, not 2, but 3 hearts that the Riftworm had, and of course that killed the Riftworm. So this was a devastating blow for the Locust army, and then Scourge returned to Queen Mirror with the news. But even though this was a big loss for them, the Jacinto Plateau was still weakened enough for the Locust to finish the task without the Riftworm, and therefore Queen Mirror ordered an army of Locust to begin digging a sinkhole in Jacinto City. So let's briefly talk about the assault on Mount Kadar as well. So basically, meanwhile, Queen Mirror knew that the coalition would attempt to locate Nexus through files at the New Hope research facility, where the origins of the Locust Horde began, and included intel on the relocation of the subjects there to Mount Kadar. So therefore, KETOR SKORGE sent an army to destroy the New Hope research facility, as Delta Squad were ordered to investigate the facility for intelligence on the Locust Horde. However, Delta Squad managed to secure information from Dr. Niles Sampson's personal video journal and began travelling to Mount Kadar. KETOR SKORGE then ordered a large battalion of troops and mortar teams to protect the entrance of Nexus through Mount Kadar. So Delta was eventually able to pass through their defences, enter Mount Kadar, and arrive to Nexus, where they sent a beacon for the coalition to begin the second wave of Operation Hollow Storm. So Scourge, he actually ordered many blights of Locust, among them led by KETOR, to emerge on the surface outside Mount Kadar and defend Nexus from oncoming assault derricks intending on sending Gears into the inner hollow. Now KETOR, obviously he was a captain, similar to KETOR, but obviously KETOR, he was in a different blight. But that is quite interesting, KETOR, I wish and I hope we get to learn more about him in the future. Perhaps that'd be pretty cool. But many Gears were killed and assault derricks were destroyed, but the defending Locust were actually defeated. So KETOR, he died as well, as the Gears burrowed into Mount Kadar and arrived in Nexus, where they began to slaughter the Locust Horde in their home. Then Scourge returned to the Royal Palace at Queen Mirror's side, and between the humans and Lambent invading Nexus and being so close to destroying Jacinto City, Queen Mirror and Scourge knew that the day would be the last for Nexus. Because they knew, the humans are here, the Lambent are here, it's all going down, so we need to get out of here. So that's why Queen Mirror and Scourge sent blights of Locust to begin evacuation, with orders to begin attacking Jacinto City while the others prepared to sink it. Meanwhile, however, Delta Squad continued on their mission to kill Queen Mirror. So fact number 9, I'm going to be talking about the siege of Nexus Palace. So Delta Squad arrived to the front gates of the Royal Palace, but they were met with palace guards. Delta was able to eradicate most of them in the front gates, stables and command centre. And then Augustus Cole began using the Queen's public announcement microphone to deliver his enlightening speech and threat to the Queen. So the Cole Train's enlightening speech, "We're gonna whoop your mama's ass." Oh, you gotta love the Cole Train. But then Scourge then went to the command center to eliminate Delta Squad, but overheard their discovery of Professor Adam Phoenix's plan to sink Jacinto and flood the Hollow. Their plans to sink Jacinto before the Locust evacuate, and that Marcus was the son of Adam Phoenix. So therefore Scourge returned to Queen Mirror with this information and chose to stay, and they awaited for Delta Squad's arrival to meet Marcus Phoenix. So Delta Squad, they made it to the throne room and they entered the Queen's chambers as KETOR SKORGE kept guard. So Queen Mirror introduced herself to Delta Squad and advised them that the locust would be successful in destroying the humans and the Lambent by sinking Jacinto City first. But she revealed that Scourge informed her of Delta Squad's plans and thus sent an army to distract the coalition while they finished the task. And then Queen Myrrah basically ordered Scourge to destroy Delta Squad. But as Queen Myrrah escaped, Marcus ordered Baird and Cole to follow the Queen, and Scourge personally fought Marcus and Dom. So Marcus, he went hand to hand with Scourge. So Scourge, he was defeated right there, but he summoned his Hydra and then Scourge retreated. On the other hand, Queen Myrrah actually managed to escape from Cole and Baird, and she escaped via a Reaver. So Delta Squad regrouped at the rear of the palace, and then they made their way to the Reaver pens to make a quick getaway to Jacinto City. However, Scourge and his Hydra mount returned and attempted to destroy the bridge as Delta crossed. KETOR Skorge failed. However, as Delta was able to board 2 Reavers and took flight, Scourge managed to locate Delta's Reavers when they stopped to assist a cornered gear squad. Scourge then followed Delta out of Nexus and chased them through the tunnels of the inner hollow, using the Hydra's rockets and attempting to devour them. Scourge was unsuccessful in destroying Delta's Reavers and was cut off from them when they passed through a smaller tunnel where the Hydra was unable to enter. And fact number 10, Delta managed to emerge back onto the surface on the Jacinto Plateau near Jacinto City. After a firefight against Locust troops on Reavers through Stromson Forest, Scourge managed to emerge with his Hydra and once again was in pursuit of Delta. With open space, Scourge had the Hydra repeatedly grab the Reavers with its tentacles. Scourge then attempted a head-on collision with Marcus's Reaver, but Marcus managed to fire the Reaver's rocket into the face of the Hydra itself. So therefore the Hydra was destroyed and Scourge was sent flying in the air, and he actually died instantly when landing on the rocks below. So Scourge, he fell to his death. And similarly to RAAM, both of them died by the hands of Delta Squad. So there you have it guys, that's 10 facts about KETOR Skorge. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and comment down below what you think of Scourge. And be sure to actually share this video, so we can get the series out there, and that would be really helpful because it does take some time to actually make these types of videos, so that would be awesome. And be sure to actually vote on the community tab of my channel so you can actually vote for the next COG character, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hope you guys have a nice day and I'll catch you on the next one.